He's whiny.
Yeah, like he sounds like such a bitch. Out. You can probably still hear my cat now because I'm holding the mic up to him.
Yeah, I can hear the cat when you did that.
He's not a huge fan of the mic. Okay, well, he's not making very many interesting noises for us.
It's okay. We got. Oh, there you go. There we go. Wow. Wow.
He makes such the upwards inflection makes it sound like he's always asking you a question.
He is asking questions. He's a good boy. Or do you say that to cats? No, you don't say that to cats. But now we got the intro. The shit drops. I was even working on my podcast editing, my video editing skills. I got the little like animation.
Dude, we got like 15 likes on that last episode at like 150 views.
Yeah, that shit went because that new intro. People were really feeling it.
Really going hard.
Yeah, and I also did like a lot of like video. Like I'm getting a little bit better at like using DaVinci. So I'm doing some effects, and the production values, the production quality is going up dramatically. People are really feeling it.
I have so many different things that are like on the back burner that have gotten pushed off because this thing with work lately getting swamped. But it's like that'll be gone hopefully. Maybe if we're lucky, maybe in 1 week, but definitely within 2 weeks, right? Because that's the notice that we're giving them.
Well, DaVinci is legitimately complicated. I'll say that. I feel like I'm back to like being a kid using like Photoshop or something where you like learn like one thing at a time.
A lot of the photo editing software I use like Affinity Photo now, and it's there's way more resources on Photoshop, right? Photoshop has a way shittier user interface though, at least in terms of it's one of those user interfaces that you can
get used to it.
It was made in the 90s and people carried it forward because they were extremely used to it. But like if you had to go and redesign a user interface for a photo editing app in this day and age, it would not look anything at all like Photoshop.
Yeah, no, Photoshop is just it's legacy build. Because like now if you change that too much, people are like, can you fucking not change? Like I've been using this program. I get a new version of Photoshop every year for the last 25 years. Please don't change it.
The most insane example of this, I think, was do you remember the menu on iPhones?
Nope, because I'm not a slave to Steve Jobs.
That's true, I guess. But so I got an iPhone. I got convinced to get an iPhone for the iPhone 7 generation. I got the iPhone 7 Plus, 128 gigabytes, matte black. And I was like, wow, what a beautiful piece of hardware. I'm so excited for this. And then I realized everyone fucking hoodwinked me, man. iPhones actually like, They were not easier to use.
No, they're definitely not. I don't know why. They look sexy, kind of.
Yeah, and well, everyone was like, "Oh, like an idiot can use it. Like it's for grandmas. It's so easy to use." And then I went to use it, and like the first thing that I noticed was, how like on Android there's a back button.
Yes, there's no back button,
and it's always in the same spot, right? Yeah, like Apple would have a back button, but it could be in any one of the four corners. So like all of the muscle memory you have of clicking the back button, like it doesn't matter. You have to click a different place in every app. It's not standard. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like Apple has complete vertical control over their entire production chain. They can force app developers to do anything. And they never considered, okay, maybe we should have these people all put the back button in the same spot.
In the exact same spot, yeah.
Like how did Android get this right? And then Apple for years and years and years did nothing to address it. Now
it also is weird because Android does the override where your back button is like in the actual phone. And no matter what you're using, you can use back.
Yeah.
Like mine with the Pixel, you can just slide the corner. And
now everything uses gestures and stuff like that. But the other thing with the iPhone that I got was the screen just sucked ass. Like it wasn't until recently that iPhones had decent screens at all. But for the iPhone 7, it was literally like I was looking at like a 360p monitor or something. It was so much lower resolution than my than the Android that I had before. I think I had like I think I went like Note 4 to the iPhone.
No, they definitely
why does this 2-year-older Android have so much better of a screen than my new $6 million iPhone?
Only until recently did the screen and the cameras of the iPhone even catch up. In fact, it was only even like with the camera itself, like the camera only got on par really recently but then people thought it was otherwise because all the apps would like Snapchat, for example, and every other major app.
Yeah, so this is a good one for those of you who don't know about what went on here. Snapchat, the makers of Snapchat, essentially like they just really liked iPhones and they thought that Androids were really gay. So what they did was when you use Snapchat on an iPhone, it would use your camera like the normal camera app does, and it would use it to take pictures. And when you use Snapchat on an Android, what it would do is it would pull the camera up, and then instead of taking the picture and running it through your phone's processor, it would take a screenshot of what was on like what was on your
so insane that they got away with that.
Yeah, and they did this for years, and they finally corrected it, and then everyone was like, oh,
it's too late now.
As far as I know, I thought they corrected it like 18 months ago or sometime like fairly recently.
They probably did redo it recently, but it's done now. Like no one's ever gonna it's just no one uses Snapchat if they have an Android phone.
Yeah, so it's just this permanent meme, right? That Androids have like turbo shitty phones. It's just been canonized into like popular culture. And I mean, there are obviously some Androids that have shitty phones, but there's also like, it's like at this point, every phone camera is a phone camera. If you're going to pay $1,200 for a phone, it's going to have a fucking good camera.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there was the only thing that the iPhone really had going for it at the very beginning was is that it's interoperable with all your items, and it of course has like the touchscreen, which the touchscreen was pretty much, if it was not iPhone, the touchscreen sucked back then. Though I will say that the BlackBerry touchscreen phones used to have like feedback, like the vibration, nice. And that was really nice. And I really wish that they stuck with that. I guess all phones do that now. I don't really know if the iPhone does, but the actual UX of the iPhone makes you feel like there's feedback, even if it doesn't actually give you the vibration. But that vibration feedback.
Okay, the coolest thing about the iPhone, hands down, the one that I had that 3D touch shit where they had like a layer of like pressure sensitive material between the screen and the digitizer. So like you could do like the air quotes force touch where you basically would press down hard and it felt exactly like a physical button. And so you could have like 3 different options for anything you wanted to click on. You could have the tap, you could have the long press, and you could have the hard press. And they would all do different things. And it was just like I loved that so freaking much, man. That was such a good feature. And then no app developers used it, and they said, well, I guess we're doing away with this. And I was like, what the And then subsequent iPhones came out and they didn't have it. That was unironically.
I didn't realize that they did that.
That was one of the coolest things, one of the coolest features that just got totally kicked to the wayside that I've ever used on any phone. And the other thing, the Apple haptic feedback motor is so good. Like they specifically developed a haptic motor that feels like it can just vibrate really, really quickly because they have instead of using, most people use like some sort of a spinner design, right? Where they basically have a rotary motor that spins an uneven weight, right? So like you imagine if you put like on your car tires, if you don't balance them, you know how they wobble around and they vibrate?
Yeah.
That's essentially what the standard Android vibrate motor is. And there's like different versions of this, right? Like maybe they're not all going to be like a wheel shape, and some will have like a weird like cam lobe based design. But that's the basic principle behind it. Whereas the Apple haptic motor essentially has like 2 solenoids that oscillate something like extremely quickly, and they can do these really fast, and then like they can make it vibrate really, really quickly, start up really quickly, and then stop really quickly. So it feels like it perfectly replicates if you were to press a physical button. Maybe not perfectly, but like like I couldn't tell. When I was pressing the little center button on my iPhone, I legitimately thought that there was something going down, and it felt like a really solid, nice tactile button. And I spent probably 30 minutes looking around, like examining the creases on the phone, because I thought that there had to be some sort of like crease in there where the 2 sides were coming together, because I thought I was literally pushing in a button. I was confused. Like I was sitting there in the store, and all of these people were looking at me, probably wishing that I was either going to buy something or like fuck off. And I was just pressing the button over and over and over again.
You got to get that autism press.
Yeah, I was stimming out with
that textile. Yeah, you got to stim out for sure.
But I wound up, that phone drove me crazy because, like, you know what, on Android, if you want to go and you want to share, like, let's say you have a photo and you want to share it to an app, you can share it to any app, right? Like there's no restriction. Whereas iPhones, because of the weird like security that they have, you can only share it to like a given handful of core apps, which
that's
is
sort of
like
with their computers or with like which
they do a bunch of
applications you
weird
can use.
stuff. So it was just always a big pain in the ass to me because like anytime I would want to like go and share any content, there was this big question of like, is it even going to work? And you had to do it that way because like it wouldn't connect. Like I couldn't just plug it into my computer and have it be normal. And then like if I wanted to go and try and navigate it on my computer, like it just wouldn't like show you the file system unless you did all this other weird shit. And obviously the file system exists and you can make it appear to you if you want to like dicker around enough with the iPhone, but it's just such a big pain in the ass. And like, it doesn't let you save things directly to your storage, right? Like you save the photos to the app. And if you like, let's say you want it in a different app, you have to like double save it. It's really
weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So everyone uses like Mega or some other cloud storage to do this if they don't use iCloud.
Is that what the deal with Mega upload? Is that how that got popular?
That's why everybody uses Mega, is because it's literally like that's the workaround for Apple. And all of this, everything that I'm saying might be based on like 7 years outdated knowledge, I guess. But this was 100%
but this is when Mega got really popular back then. I don't know if Mega Upload still exists.
No, it still does.
I've been thinking a lot about this type of thing recently, only because like for the company that I'm working for, I'm writing about account abstraction for Ethereum and like blockchain shit. Because effectively they're trying to do this with all of like crypto wallets these days, and Ethereum wants to do this too. And so I've been reading a lot about the Apple UX stuff too, just to see how like they were able to push the abstracting away a lot of those core components, which for most users is good. And for many users like myself, it's
literally great for everyone except for me, who like on a regular day transmits like 3 gigabytes of files from his phone to his computer, right? Like if I have some big project file that I need to go and move around, I don't carry around a thumb drive. I just use my phone. I just, like I'm just going to plug it in. So like the inability to do that on an iPhone was like super debilitating. And I could explain it to everyone and they would just say, why don't you use a thumb drive? And it's like,
why would I bring a thumb drive?
I could, I guess, but I already have this thing that has the memory and it's faster memory. And I don't want to fucking, it's just.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you use it? Yeah, no, absolutely.
Maybe I'm unreasonable. I don't know.
Some things are just not made for power users. Fundamentally,
I hate calling myself a power user because that makes me feel so gay. Nothing feels gay. Calling yourself an Android power user, right?
Unfortunately, you are a power user. Listen, I actually had a point in my Android journey. I guess that we're going to call it that for the sake of whatever. And where I was changing the operating system, or I was using like alternative operating systems, so I can change like all the layouts and stuff. And that
everybody did it. Well, because you had to do this, right? Early Android, you had to root your phone and you had to do all this other like weird jailbreaky shit and flash your ROMs, and because shit just didn't work. Like if you didn't do this, your battery would last like 4 minutes.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought that was a lot of fun. I think, and I thought,
it was a lot of fun. It was definitely like I spent massive portions of my childhood, like reinstalling phone software.
Yeah, I think that was sick. Also, you could just do a lot of cool shit, and like also you can feel like you were like super secret agent with your OPSEC. Like
I was going turbo hacker mode as I completely obliterated every security measure that Samsung had ever put into the stock firmware.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to go back, but I mean, this is the thing is like at least with Ethereum and the way that they're doing account abstraction, you in theory could actually make things more accessible to power users if you feel like enabling that kind of shit. But mostly it's just going to hide things. It's kind of like with Brave in the wallet. Like all the things I'm used to be able to do, I can't do anymore. It's just annoying. I don't know. I as a nerd, I guess I fucking dislike improved user experience.
Like anytime you tell everybody that okay, you have like 3 options now instead of 3 million, there's going to be like 85% of people who say like, yay, this is fucking awesome, thank God. And there's going to be like 15% of people who like show up to your house with a gun. Yeah,
it's like, why would you take this away from me? I liked it because I had this.
Yeah.
No, like,
but every year, I have to say, every year it seems like Apple and Android phones come closer and closer to parity. Like for sure. Parity as in parity, not parody, for those of you wondering.
That's a good pun.
Yeah. But it's just a situation now where like, I mean, I've been considering switching to an iPhone now just because like I love my Mac so much. I got an M1 MacBook Pro, the 16-inch one with the Giga battery, and it's been the greatest purchase I have probably ever made in my life in terms of just like it's just a really fucking solid computer. And
I would switch to Mac to an iPhone if I really don't really. There's honestly nothing that really makes me want to switch. I've already gotten past the need for like playing iMessage games and whatever.
It's not the iMessage games, but it's the fact that like I could just, having basically like seamless interaction between the files on your phone and your computer and being able to send stuff over really quickly. Like right now, if I want to get files off of my phone and put them onto the MacBook, it is a really fucking convoluted. Like I literally use Dropbox, or like I use.
Just do what I do. I just make a Telegram notes channel. I made like a Telegram channel for only me, and I send shit back and forth to myself via the Telegram channel.
That's actually a way better idea. Well, I mean, I guess that's still like cloud storage now that I'm thinking of it. But how much can that handle? Like, can that do like a 90 gig file transfer?
I've done full video.
Huh. Well, I guess full videos are usually like 5 gigs or something, right? I'm talking.
I've never done 90 gig. I've never done more than like.
Because I'm saying like if I now have my camera that records in like 8K, like 60.
Oh yeah, that one you can't do.
Right, yeah. So I have these big ass files all over the place, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with them. And it's just so I plug them in, and you need some sort of like Android file transfer thing, and it's one of those apps that has like a 1.9 star rating, and all of the ratings are either like, this works perfectly, it's so awesome, thanks guys, or what the fuck, bro? Like it doesn't even start. Like the app, you click the button and nothing happens. That's just what happens for me, right? There appears to be no app that's going to work for my specific Samsung to move files over onto the Mac, which is just like, it's absurd to me. Like the idea that I have a thing that I can plug into my computer, and it's a thing that like I know if I plug this into like a Linux machine or I plug this into a Windows computer,
read it for sure.
I can instantly read it, and it can show me like all the full file system, everything is there. But you plug it into a Mac and it just like gets confused, and it's like, what the fuck? Like I don't understand. Are they doing this?
I don't understand poor. We can't convert
like,
from poor.
So I literally think this is like a built-in like a GIMP that Mac has done.
It's absolutely built in
to get me to try and buy an iPhone, and it's like it's basically working, right? Because this single thing is enough of an inconvenience that like all of the other shit that pisses me off about iPhones is like it's pretty minimal in comparison, right? Like. What really at this point are my complaints with iPhone? Like, oh, the files, you have to double save shit, and it's like, I guess, but I'll just fucking buy like a 1 terabyte phone or something. Like who?
Yeah, now that we have the terabyte phones, it does make it really hard to complain about shit.
Yeah.
Now that I'm like, oh, well, I have a terabyte of memory, so. I mean, I got the Google Pixel again, but I did actually genuinely was going to get the iPhone 13 or whatever the fuck it was. However,
they don't seem like they're too bad. Well, the iPhone, I guess whichever one was the one that had when they finally went to the 120 hertz refresh rate. This is like my big gay tech nerd thing.
I think my screen is faster than that though.
I can't go back to a 60 hertz screen on like anything. My eyes are too fast, bro.
Yeah, too fast.
My optical refresh rate is just too high. I can't go. I see everything stuttering and jumping around, and I have. This is funny actually because I film half of my YouTube videos in like 24p, right? So I'm lying to you is what I'm doing. I'm deceiving you.
Yeah, no, mine's a 120 refresh rate. I thought it was higher. My friend was spazzing about it, but I think he had the iPhone before they did the 120. So he's like, your phone's so fast. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is just this is how it came out the box.
It really looks so much better. Like out of and this is the thing with phones, right? Is they haven't done anything in like 5, 6, maybe 10 even years. Like at this point, every time a new phone comes out, I'm just
it's the same fucking phone.
Right. It's exactly the same thing.
There's more memory, which I like, and all you get is a reset on your battery life, not even new battery.
It's at the point now where like the meme is totally true about how all of our software development has been used and burned up exclusively in the endless pursuit of mitigating all hardware advances, right? So that everything stays exactly the same. So every year we get better hardware, and every year our software developers say, "Oh, we can add more poorly optimized features," and then every year it remains exactly as fast as the previous year. And there are little jumps, right? Like when we instantly get the new processors and the devs haven't had time to like fuck them up yet, everyone's like, "Oh, they're so fast." And then like 6 months later, after enough updates have been pushed, and they have decided to I'm doing air quotes, after they have decided on proper RAM allocation, then suddenly everything has slowed down and everyone is right back to where we started.
Fucking software devs, they're the devil. They're like the chaos fucking like cultists in like that are like worshiping elder gods and worshiping the end of the universe.
This is the thing with engineers, right?
I'm sick of them. I'm sick of the fucking software devs.
There's just going to be a level of pragmatism that you're going to have to deal with, and this is the same thing with realistically all engineers. I mean, you get the same thing with like mechanical engineers, where people are always saying, "Oh, like I would totally be willing to pay like 3 times more for a product that never broke. Like, why does nobody design that?" And it's because everybody who says that is lying. Right? Like none of the people who say that shit ever actually go out and buy the really expensive durable products because I don't know why they do it, but they just don't, right? Like it's one of those things that like the market has borne out time and time again. There's all of these companies that start themselves up with the philosophy of just making that thing that lasts forever. And it's like, it's a little bit hard to do because you have to demonstrate somehow that you actually last forever. Because you like, in order to command the premium, you have to have something to back it up, right? And how do you prove to everybody that you can actually last 3 times longer?
That's a good point. Especially if you're new, it's never been seen before.
Yeah. You're like this new guy. And it's like, this is one thing. If you're like a product in a weird niche internet community, like this happens all the time with, like car parts, motorcycle parts, where you have like one wear item that the community knows, like, oh, this is the weak link in the chain. Like if your bike goes down, it's going to be this part. And some guy comes in, his name is like Big Rick.
Henry Ford. Sorry.
Yeah, Henry Ford, Big Rick, all these guys, they come in, they have a website that looks like it was designed in 1992. And you go in and you call the number and you order this part. They say, yeah, we just ran off another batch of 50, and they ship you one by UPS ground. And then it comes and you have a part that is like 8 times more durable than the stock version. And people are willing to pay a fuck ton for stuff like this, but there's like 12 of the people who are willing to pay for it, right? So unfortunately, you can do it. You can do it. But like, you're not really chasing a big market segment. And the people who chase like tiny market segments like this, they tend not to be like that great of designers or engineers, right? It's like the same thing with, and God forbid me, this one's going to summon the fucking storm onto me, man. But this is like with the gun community, right?
You're about to get us hate
it's
mail?
Actually an extremely small community of engineers. And, there have historically been some good ones, but the majority, like, I don't know how into guns you've gotten, but there's a lot of times where you're looking at stuff and you're just like, why is this still this way? Or like, why do we do this? Why? Surely there's a better way. And then you like find the better way on a different gun. And you're like, why doesn't this other gun just implement, because like basically every gun that's released has some sort of problem. And you're like, why has nobody just thought to make one that doesn't have any problems? and there's obviously going to be some complications, right? Like you can't make an AR in like a really cool caliber because they made it too small for like really really big bullets, right?
Yeah.
So like the 7.62 by 39, you can fit them into a standard AR-15, and it will shoot. But you have to hollow out the back bolt so much that it winds up getting like much less durable, and there's a lot less wall thickness. And like you can use better materials, and you can radius the locking lugs better, so you can like reduce stress risers some to mitigate the issue. But it will never be as durable as if you had just used the caliber that was chambered in. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of those things that needs like a platform change. And like I'm not yelling at Eugene Stoner because like 16 years down the line,
I'm yelling at him. Fuck that guy.
60 years down the line, we can't put like this obscure communist cartridge into his gun seamlessly, right? Like this is not his problem.
I'm gonna spit on his grave,
dude. The 5.56 is just, I'm a very big. I've always been a 5.56 hater. I'm on the team with the boomers who are all saying, "Oh, it just pokes holes in them, man. There's no way you could kill it. This is a varmint cartridge." I've never shot anyone with this. I've never been to war, but I've read enough forum posts by people who sign off as Bob the veteran to know that 5.56 will never stand my ground, right? It will never do anything. It might as well be a 22 long rifle, and I am totally defenseless. If I'm caught with only an AR-15, I am fucked, right? Imagine you come to a gunfight and you have a 5.56, right? This tiny little bullet, right? Imagine the Giga Chad, right? The Giga Chad, she's a 5'3" woman. She shows up with a Ruger LC9.
She's a 5'3" female officer, blonde. It's her first day on the job.
Yeah, and she shows up, and you have 3 times the gunpowder, but her bullet has 4 times the cross-sectional area, and she shoots you 3 times, and you die instantly, right?
You die. She shoots you
empty the full round into her. You just keep dumping, man. You keep dumping round after round into her body, and they just pass through seamlessly. They go in one side and out the other, and she doesn't even flinch. She just 3 rounds though, and you are down for the count with that ferocious 9mm Luger.
And that's all because you decided to reach for your license registration a bit too fast, and you scared her. So this should be a lesson to you.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the statistics on female cops lately.
Oh, no, that's like female cops are the ones who you get shot by.
Yeah, I remember it being something absurd. Like, it was something like female cops are like 8 times more likely to like shoot people or something like that.
Yeah, it's like significantly more because they can't overpower them, right? Because like dudes have. A
so that's more. The thing is, if you have no other alternative methods of escalation, then like suddenly you have to shoot people a lot.
Yeah, so it's basically like. There's that Sam Hyde skit about like I'm not gonna recreate it, but he just not his sketch, it's like from his YouTube channel. He's just like, oh, if there's a female officer, just fucking run, like just fucking gun on the floor, put your hand on your head, it's fucking over for you, dude. But yeah, like he's like, you're going to get shot. Yeah, so you just don't even bother.
I really don't understand. I mean, this is one of those things that like it should to me be a really easy sell to normies that like you for that reason alone you shouldn't have female cops.
Because I feel like it should be obvious. I don't know why. Because of
the extreme increase in like fatalities.
Or you the other thing is limited female cops like, and use them for specific purposes, like a sexual response, so like a woman can have a female cop.
Yeah,
I can understand that or something.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the other danger, right? Like if you're a female cop, like that's part of the reason you're shooting everybody is because like if you lose, you get raped because it's a criminal, right? Like, and the average criminal, like this is basically like, you know.
Basically, yeah, we just don't need female cops. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think everyone's like maybe they could take away like male nurses. Then there's no male nurses, no female cops.
Yeah, we can do Title IX for like professions, right?
I'm perfectly okay with that.
We have to take away one. There are so many universities that have weird shit like this. Like they will have because they have like a male rowing team but no female rowing team. They'll have like a female tennis team but no male tennis team. Like you have to go 1 for 1 for sports.
That's wild.
It's really dumb.
I guess there's a few. I mean, no male volleyball. We'll get rid of male volleyball and male gymnastics if you get rid of female basketball or something.
It's just one of those things where like it should in any sort of reasonable world be allowed to just sort itself out naturally. Like if there's a demand for the team, it should just come into existence. Like if there's a demand for the team and there's funding for the team, it should just be allowed as opposed to this weird.
Because like for example, like at my school, our soccer team, the female soccer team is like really, really good. And like a lot of the World Cup winners because like the U.S. women's soccer wins a lot. Whereas like our male soccer barely ever qualifies.
Yeah, the men's soccer team doesn't do anything, right?
For obvious reasons, because like, you know, just the level of competition for female soccer is just not as high. But then, and a lot of them come from like specific schools. And like, no one ever at those schools watches those teams, but those school systems like create the best female soccer players. And then they end up winning World Cups. So it's kind of like, it's weird how that worked out. I don't know. I don't think there's like a huge financial incentive because it's not like the U.S. is like soccer, whatever division thing. is particularly like flushed with cash.
Yeah,
so
I didn't think it was like the most lucrative sport.
it's definitely not.
I'm always so confused about the argument over like gender pay in sports, where people will say like, oh, like we should split the men's payout and give it to the women and stuff like that. And I've always been like, what's the serious argument for this?
No, there is none. Actually, there's actually a thing that I've seen that the reason why women make, I mean, they would have made less anyway, but the reason why they're making extreme, like a significantly amount far less is because when they were given the option, when the WNBA was created, like a little bit afterwards, they were told they can do either like pay like a portion of seats and sales and stuff, or they could do like straight, like a stable income.
And they chose the salary, obviously.
Yeah, the salary, yeah. And now that there's actually more demand, they're trying to go back on it, and it's not gonna. And that's what's making the issue.
Yeah, and it's not going to work because they signed up to this thing specifically, and the people.
Yeah,
it's like if you decide to. You go in, you sign on as a salesman, and you say, yeah, man, like I want to waive my full base salary and go 100% commission. And they're like, sure. And then you do it, and they give you an increased commission rate to compensate for this. And then you don't make any sales. And then you say, man, I want to go back. I want a base salary now. Then they're going to be like, well, I don't know, man. No. I think we're probably going to chill.
Yeah, like they clucked themselves on this one, and it happened recently. I think actually, it wasn't even like it happened like 50 years ago. I think
that's
it happened
such
like
a classic. Like I knew as soon as you were telling me what the two options were, like how this story was going to go. Like I knew everything from that.
Yeah, so they kind of played themselves, and because they kept complaining about the whatever, they actually have a little bit more demand. Not like a lot of demand, but they're making enough money. Like the teams are making enough money to pay them more, but it's because they chose to do their pay differently because of the last time that they had a big uproar about female pay. So they kind of did it. They kind of shot themselves in the foot twice in like the same 20-year span.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it goes. That's what you get for fucking up. You get played.
I don't know. I still remember this one really ridiculous conversation that happened between two of my relatives as we were at like a holiday dinner where they started arguing about what the girl was basically arguing that there was no reason to believe that the U.S. women's soccer team couldn't beat the U.S. men's soccer team. And the guy was arguing like, well, the U.S. women's soccer team lost to the U.S. like men's like U14 Olympics team. So that's a reason. And
that's a pretty good reason right there alone.
And there was just this way. Well, that was a scrimmage. And it was like, it is, I guess. But like, that's still like.
Yeah, no fucking. I mean, like, you could play a scrimmage against the NBA, like any NBA team, you're just not going to make a single point.
I just don't understand how people feel the need to have this argument. Like, why feel the need to claim that men and women are exactly equal at literally everything, right? Like, and this is one of those things that like. It seems like everybody in the workforce and everybody pre-college doesn't really like, they think, oh, that's stupid. Nobody would ever think that. But on a college campus, I went around and I like asked people this because I had to do this for one report. I had to ask like 300 people whether they thought men or women were stronger. And it was something absurd. Like 50% of women thought that men and women were like equally as strong.
Yeah, no, when you talk to people, they think that you just got to get offline. But no, I've definitely been told to my face, like by like women like 6-8 inches shorter than me, that they are as strong or stronger than me. This is back when I was like.
So they never said. This was the interesting thing was I would ask them this, and then I would say, "Do you think you're stronger than me?" And then they would go, "Well, no, but like there's a woman who is." And I was like,
"Yeah, there's like some attractive women."
Right, I mean, at the time, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with like the movie thing, right? Where people say like, "Oh, like there's definitely like this big, strong, like epic girl boss who like never cries or feels bad or shows any emotion. She's like a big Terminator, but she's like a woman." And you're like, oh, interesting. So can you point to any examples? And they're like, and the only examples they have are like movie characters. And you realize that like this is actually like, because most of the time people do like their machine learning based off of what happens in real life, right? But we're now at the point of like total media saturation where people are actually like creating entire stereotypes just because of things that have been repeated as like a media trope, but things that don't actually happen in real life.
Oh, so, I mean, this is like how people talk about Wakanda like it's a real place. Like, I mean, like genuine, like you go in the street or like, I don't know, there's been like a very weird push ever since they like started doing the whole salutes, like presidents and like congressmen started doing the Wakanda salute, or like there's been like this like Afrofuturism, but like it being real as opposed to being like an app. I don't know.
So is it like Hyperborea essentially?
It's like Hyperborea, yeah,
Hyperborea
exactly.
is like the Nazi equivalent of the
Wakanda.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally it's like so a lot of black people are having their Hyperborea Wakanda moment, and it's very strange.
I thought that was I thought that was like a Nazi meme that black people are like doing Wakanda salutes.
No, they're legit doing that. Not like not like down the when you're walking down the street, but there's absolutely people doing Wakanda salutes regularly. I mean, you see it like there's like a whole school team like the Wakanda with the like if you forgot what they're called. There's like a really popular high school basketball team that has like the Wakanda like necklace on their jerseys, and like you see athletes do it, and you see like Congress like and like rappers and shit. Like people do it like with some regularity. It's not like it's happening on the street or anything. But yeah, it's I mean, like, but at the same time, there's on Twitter, everyone talks about Hyperborea. So, you gotta, it's roughly the same behavior.
Yeah, I'm not out here like laughing at them and saying this is so ridiculous, but it's more of a thing of like,
but this is the thing that's happening.
This is the equivalent,
facets,
right?
So. Yeah, it's the equivalent. They have that. They have the thing with the women where they're like all looking at like Gone Girl or some shit. There's like, everyone's on some like weird, like, hyper reality.
We've all got our own like we've essentially replaced all of our like tribal folklore with just like weird gay made up media stories.
Basically, yeah. I mean, this is kind of
instead of like telling your kids some like Roman tragedy, now we're going out and doing it with Gone Girl.
That's so cringe. Oh my god, everything's so.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is.
It's true though.
I mean, my belief is essentially that people will create the mythos that they want, right? Like this is the nature of cultures overall. Is that they're going to go out and, in the same way that like if you go to Asia or something, you're going to find that they have like an extremely iterative culture, generally like super low openness, and this lends itself to a lot of like weird cultural quirks.
Yeah.
That you don't really get with a lot of other places. And, like I don't think that every culture just like came randomly, right? Like, I don't think, like I think a culture is like the result of the people who made it. You could probably map out like the big 5 personality traits of like all of the different races and wind up figuring out, okay, this is why you would create a culture like this or this or this.
Absolutely,
or this. And like, if you look at the similar groups of people, all over the world, you find, okay, they tend to create similar governments, right?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely something to be said about like, there's a reason why a lot of the cultural outputs are the way they are. I mean, you have like, even like, doing the Asian, let's say American like contrast, right? Like we say like the low openness iterative culture will create like high levels of ritual behavior. That's why you got a lot of the ritual religions like Shintoism and stuff. And then ours, we have the high openness.
The best semiconductors.
And the best semiconductors, exactly. You get them, you get the Germans, you end up with
the weirdest thing is like
German beer laws and amazing.
And I am constantly surprised by the similarities between the German people and the Japanese. I keep going back to like thinking about that and thinking about like their weird autistic similarity. The similarity of their weird autism.
Yes. And it's also funny because they both have the same kind of like blow off type of weird fetishy kinky thing, right?
Yeah, like there's both definitely a weird sense of like repression.
Yeah, and they both have the weird sexual blow off and they have like the weird red light districts and like strange fetishes. But like on the surface, they're super like autist. That's right. Maybe they are the same people.
It's a really shocking level of similarity for the two people who are like as physically distinct as they are.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why they teamed up. That's why they teamed up, and we saw what happened. Versus like the U.S., we're like a high openness culture. I'd say we're low conscientiousness, high openness, middle levels of extroversion.
I'd say we're probably pretty high extroversion.
Yeah, we're probably overall.
I'd say we're probably pretty high. Like if you go and visit any other country, they know you're an American because you're
because of how much definitely. Everyone. Yeah, we are loud and smiley and and they always comment on how we say hi to everyone.
Good the meme is basically friendly but retarded, right?
Yeah, friendly retarded. So we're like low neuroticism, low conscientiousness, but we also make the best shit. So, well, not the best shit, but like most of the shit. So maybe not low conscientiousness.
This was the this is the big takeaway, right? If you travel long enough, you wind up saying, actually, I am totally fine living in America.
America's like, pretty lit.
All of the trad memes about how I should go live in like Ukraine or Korea or some other, like literally anywhere else at this point.
Literally everywhere else sucks. I don't know, and also like as much as it's easy to look outside and go, oh, that place is kind of cool. It's also easy to look inside the U.S. and be like, I would never live in like 48 of these fucking states. That place is garbage. But the fact that we have that many options,
we've got quite a few options. And the big thing really that just constantly comes back to shock me is like when I hear people's salaries in Europe, or like I ask Europeans how much they make for what they do, I'm always like, what the fuck? Like you're getting paid like as much as a janitor to do like high level technical work. What are you doing?
Unacceptable.
It's just absurd, right? Like people, oh yeah, I'm a senior software dev. And it's like you make 32,000 air quotes euros, whatever the fuck euros. I don't know how much those are worth. But
well, nowadays they're not worth shit. So when I was working for a Euro company, I was doing it because I was arbitraging how much higher the euro is to the dollar at the time. It was like during Corona, it was like 120 or something. $1 is 120 or $120 is one euro. So when I was getting my salary, I was like, I'm getting like an extra 10-20% off this fucking working remote thing. And then thanks to Ukraine and all that Russian shit, the euro became below parity. And I was like, okay, this is not going to work for me anymore.
Yeah, I know.
All the perk is gone now.
It's one thing when the euro is worth like $4, but when it's worth like $1, you're kind of like, dude, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. This is not hitting. Because okay, you make like, I don't know what I was making from them specifically, but I can't remember anymore. But it was something like upper mid, like the to tens, like maybe like on paper, I think it was 70,000 or something like that. But that's a lot more when you have an additional 20%. You're like, okay, all right, we're vibing. This is we're chilling. I'll do whatever the fucking silly euro task I'm up to.
It's funny. It's funny that you got like reverse inflation, right? You suffered like triple inflation because not only did the euro deflate versus the dollar, but the dollar deflated versus the dollar.
Oh, bro, don't tell me about it, dude. I got fucking so cucked this year, dude, financially because of this. Now I thought I was so smart too. I was like, I'm gonna play the arbitrage.
I'm gonna work at a European company. It's gonna pay me so much more.
I was so smart for like 8 months. And also I was like, okay, as an added perk, I get like 45 vacation days and I got to go to Europe every once in a while for meetings. I was like, this is great. And it was great until it was very much not great. Yeah. And the economy reversed and I got like punched in the face all at once. So fuck you, Zelensky. That's what I say. And Biden and whomever else is fucking up the things. Anyway, this is all to say, Europe sucks. Don't go there. It's good. If you retired,
trip that she's been having around everywhere has been really interesting because like there's a lot of stuff that I agree with her on her takes, but like the one thing that she said about so she said French people don't deserve the stereotype they get for being bitches or for being for being rude, and it's like, okay, French people overall are fine, but you have to go to Paris and you have to talk to people. Like the last generation of Parisians have not been that bad, but you have to talk to people who are like above the age of 40. When you go talk to Parisians above the age of 40, you will suddenly, I should say white Parisians at this point, because there's a bunch of random like Arab immigrants at this point. Like I mean, I went and the last time I was in Paris, it was just like totally unrecognizable to how it was the first time I went. The first time I went, it was just like, I was like, oh, this is like a European city. And then it was like, this is the Middle East. Like what?
Yeah, no, I know that in the last 10 years, it's been completely, ever since like, I don't know what the impetus was, but in the last 10 years, I know it's completely different. But I know like back in, Paris absolutely deserved every ounce of shit. It got all those stereotypes it deserved, all of it.
No, yeah, those older guys were huge dickheads, man. And like, you could try and speak French, and they would just fucking hate you too, right? Yeah, like the younger guys at least would say like, oh well, he's like making an effort. This is he's not being a huge dick to us. But the older guys, no, dude.
That's the thing. Like most countries you go to, like especially in Europe, if you try to speak their language, they'll like work with you. Plus, they also know English a bit, so you guys can like finagle it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You can.
France
you can
used to be like,
work.
You speak English, they would like spit in your face. You speak French, they're like, you can't speak French. Fuck you. I don't want.
Yeah, they're like, yeah,
there's no winning.
It was absolutely no winning. They were really big pains in the ass.
Yeah. That's why I see as a my Latin blood memory makes me like Spain. I could never live in Spain unless I was retired. If I was retired, I could probably.
If I was retired, yeah, they just don't do anything is a big thing. Like Spain and Italy, it's so weird how because I have some Italian vendors at work, and they just, there'll be like it's around Christmas time. There's like a 6-week period where they're just gone, and like you can try and get in contact with it. There's just nobody at the office for like this whole like month and a half. And you're like, are we going to get parts? Is this order going to get filled? Like, is any?
That was the weirdest thing for me with working with the Euro company. Like your boss or whomever would just bounce for like 6 weeks. And you're just like, just like, oh, I'm going on a holiday. And you're like, okay. And it's like legitimately like a month that they're gone. And you're like,
I mean, that sounds awesome to be able to do. And I guess like this is the thing, right? Is you can go take your random 6-week vacations if you are willing to take a 60% pay slash.
Yeah. And like, you can Europe's relatively cheap in most places. Like you can get around doing shit in Europe fairly cheap. So I
mean, the place is cheap overall, but in terms of like, there's still a bunch of weird. There's still a bunch of weird export shit that's so much more fucking expensive. Like you can get better food for cheaper and like basic cost of life, local good stuff. But when you're buying, it's not like cars are adjusted for the pay there, right?
Yeah, no, they're not. Yeah. That's the other thing. So
they do have smaller, shittier cars that just cost less, but it's not like
and motorcycles.
The equivalent cars still cost like the same.
Yes. I did think it was weird that they have ubiquitous electric motorcycles and we don't have those. And I feel like it would be really useful.
When he gets older, he won't sound like this anymore,